If you're wondering why it's so hard to get a date when you say you're Maga, just try to learn a couple of things from this video that you can shift around how you are thinking, because here's all the reasons, and they're pretty simple, and you probably know them already. But look, when baby Donald Dump came out and said that he was fine about grabbing pussy, that was deeply offensive to women. And when 21 women came out, this is in the beginning of him running for office, and they said he had raped them, and they were only a small fraction because the Epstein files shows his name 1,000,000 times. You can imagine how many rapes actually he perpetrated on very young people as a pedophile. And you guys all said nothing, and you voted for him. I burst into tears when I saw people voting for him and not caring. When he came out and said, yeah, well, my college was kind of fake, and yeah, I don't pay my workers the last third of their pay because I don't want to, I don't have to. And nobody cared about workers. When he started demolishing the government with Elon Musk, all of these programs, and USAID, that had been feeding the hungry and helping the really, really most in need people on the planet, all got gutted. And then he started taking the money. Can you see the patterns? So like each of those, then he sides with the Ku Klux Klan. He calls forth Proud Boys, to give an insurrection, and then he incites riots. He's fine with them maybe hanging Mike Pence. And then on top of that, he starts arresting people in the streets at gunpoint, killing citizens because they're brown, because they're immigrants, and his racism just abounds, and it sort of unleashes the racism of the country. When all of these things happen one after another, and then you don't change your stance, you don't turn around, you don't go, whoops, I was wrong, I thought he was going to help the economy when he puts tariffs on Canada and ruins relations with our allies. So that we've noticed everything is so expensive. Right? Everything that was in place to protect consumers destroyed, things to protect nature destroyed, and environmentalists. So there's so many people that are mad at you if you don't turn around at some point, because the environmentalists see you as somebody who doesn't care about the earth herself. Any person of color sees you as somebody completely out of touch and deluded if you think this rounding up people, putting them into detention centers without even ways to get out, without anybody allowed to go into the detention centers, which are really concentration camps, to see how people are doing. And the few people who've come out said it's so dangerous. People are dying of disease. People are stuffed in like sardines. It is terrifying, humiliating. This is criminal behavior. Doing these things to children. No differentiating between children and adults for the purposeful choices he makes to terrorize us as a nation so that he can have more power. All of this, if you're siding, with him, you're seen as siding with so many morally bankrupt levels of betrayal from him as a leader. From women to children, protectors of trafficking. He's this whole Epstein thing where they release the names of the victims and not the perpetrators. It's trafficking. Where are all the young children that are missing from the detention centers? Trafficking. So you might be watching Fox, which is not a news station. It's an opinion station. Have you ever noticed that? They're bombarding you with opinions so that you agree with the propaganda that they are selling, because they're owned by the billionaires who want to rape and rob from all of us. 5 billionaires. Billionaires should be illegal, guys. Everybody's talking about, I'm going to be a billionaire. Why? Why take so much money from other human beings that you don't need, that can only be gotten? You can't work that many hours to make $1 billion. It can only be gotten from stealing from many, many people who are barely surviving. So you kind of have to look at all of your priorities and all of your assumptions of what's good and what do you feel is evil. Because if you're going to go for a criminal like that as your leader, it basically says you have no moral compass and you have nothing you call evil, because all of those things are evil. Destroying the environment, destroying children, destroying women, disregarding civil rights, destroying the Constitution and democracy by putting in a whole group of people as Supreme Court leaders who we didn't vote for. We didn't vote for. He put them in there, who do not represent the people. Only a small fraction of the people. And the other thing is to realize that Maga and even Republicans, now it's way less, but it was only 20-something% voted for Baby Dump. And what was it? 80% of all these people were undecided and didn't vote at all. So it's not like you have some majority if you think, well, there's half of us want him and half of us don't know. No, a lot of people were lazy, had no clue, and many people were tricked by those fake ads he put out with all of that help from the Russians who wanted him in there to be Putin's little puppet. And you see him sitting side by side, these brutal dictators, Netanyahu and Putin, saying, I want to be as brutal as them because I want to be the next Hitler. He says it. He says it. He's using the Nazi playbook in terms of how to hypnotize us into fear and terrorize all the people around him so they don't speak up because he's going to take their jobs and their money and threaten their families. That's mafia taking over the U.S. Do you get it? You must get it. You must get it. And if whoever's watching this right now, you probably... I just hope this gives you more words, more of a storyline to keep it all in order. Like, don't get dissuaded. We have elections coming up. 2026 can change the story, can get us back on track, can make us become a democracy again instead of this weird thing we're becoming where we're just owned by these billionaires who are feeding us all this hypnosis through their AI and their apps and their platforms that we are addicted to, right? So we got to break the hypnosis, break out, okay? Take back democracy, we've already had, we already know that Al Gore had won that election. That was a stolen election. When they finally counted the votes from Florida, he had won. The Supreme Court had stepped in and said, don't count the votes because they were friends with Baby Bush. We already know Kamala Harris's her presidency, it was supposed to be. And we know there's tons and tons of not fake people voting. That's a lie. That's not true. But keeping people from voting, gerrymandering, dissuading people from voting by threatening them and telling tons of lies about a candidate before they go up for election, all of that's real. She won that election fair and square. There have been tampering with the machines to, divert. This whole thing about wanting to have women not be able to vote if they've changed their names, because you say, yeah, you have to show you were born, you're a citizen, prove you're a citizen. If you've changed your name, you can't vote. Well, who's that? That's women, because they know women are Democrats. Women are the ones who care about the environment and abolishing racism and sexism and capitalism, dismantling capitalism and making us have a more socialistic democracy. That means taking care of people. That is not an extreme, leftist, liberal, scary word. All the countries that have socialism, they take care of people. Their government is created by the people, for the people, and they have free college. They have free childcare. They have free health care for all. Yeah, they have green energy going strong, creating tons of new jobs. They have, even Italy. That what do they have? 18 vacation days. It's just crazy. Those are just the holidays, and then they have a 13th month they're paid for that they didn't work, and they've got what 8 weeks paid vacation. That's living. That's a society that is including the feminine half of beingness in terms of what matters to women. All right? That's why people don't want to date anybody who's MAGA. So just don't pretend you're not MAGA. Actually learn about the world. Actually get onto some other stations besides Fox, because Fox really doesn't give you news. It just gives you their opinions. And a bunch of distortions on the news that make it seem a certain way to feed your fear and your, and jealousy and all kinds of weird things. They prey on people's weaknesses. You can grow. You can step out of the hypnosis. You do not have to be identified. Even if your entire family has raised you in the clutches of racist, sexist, homophobic, capitalistic, Republican values, you still are allowed to step out of all of it and say, it no longer is what it was. Maybe once there was a time when being a Republican was just being more conservative. It was just being about business. But now, if you're a Republican, you're going to destroy business as we know it. Okay, much love, darling. My name is Eve Christoph. I'm a speaker healer. Invite me to speak on your stage, and I will say what I just said and much more. Much love, darling.